And that's not why I'm making this video, because I'm making this video because of the pre-match commentary. If you guys didn't hear the commentators for this game, first of all, we have Eva Hayden, Iowa center is Eva Hayden. At the end of the day, like, calling her Eva Hayden is one thing, but also Caitlin Clark has been referred to as Caitlin Smith. Lisa Bluder was Lisa Blunder. So yeah, it is laughable. It is laughable listening to this commentary. So let's take a listen to this riveting commentary about Caitlin Smith and Lisa Blunder.
That wasn't a slip of the tongue.
The Iowa-UCLA Sweet 16 matchup delivered the most spectacular broadcasting failure in recent memory. But the commentary disaster might be the best thing that happened to the Hawkeyes. Caitlin Smith, Lisa Blunder, Ava Hayden, these aren't obscure players. Yet the assigned commentators butchered every recognizable name in women's college basketball. The complete meltdown of professional broadcasting became so catastrophically entertaining that fans are genuinely grateful the only trending topic is broadcaster incompetence, rather than what actually unfolded on the court.
Iowa. Like, I will never question Iowa's heart. I'll never question Iowa's effort. But it's the same questions for Iowa that I had during the Iowa State game. I'm like, they were trying to I remember they were trying to force feed the high-low, which allowed Audie Crooks to stand under the basket. They didn't even attempt once to get Audie Crooks away from the basket. And just like they haven't done it today, they are allowing Lauren Betts be the best interior defender. Lauren Betts is a terrible pick-and-roll defender. Like, an embarrassingly bad pick-and-roll defender. But she is an elite rim protector, especially if you're trying to force-feed high-lows.
Iowa's fundamental flaw was exposed ruthlessly in this game. They possess zero players capable of creating individual shots without Caitlin Clark's generational talent. Hannah Stolze managed 0 points while Addie Deal, one of their few offensive generator, contributed just 6 points in a systematic dismantling. The 27-6 deficit midway through the second quarter against UCLA revealed everything wrong with Iowa's offensive philosophy. This wasn't competitive basketball, but rather a complete demolition that highlighted their inability to function when their primary system fails. The tactical breakdown exposes coaching malpractice of the highest order. Iowa's entire offensive system revolves around high-low entry passes, positioning Ava Hayden or Hannah Stolze at the elbow before feeding inside for post moves. Against Lauren Betts, one of college basketball's most dominant rim protectors, this strategy was basketball suicide. The baffling part is Betts' terrible pick-and-roll defense. Multiple scouting reports identify her as embarrassingly bad in that coverage. Yet Iowa refused to exploit this glaring weakness, instead force-feeding their high-low system against a team specifically constructed to destroy that approach. Elite teams separate themselves through adaptability, but Iowa plays identically against every opponent regardless of matchup advantages or defensive personnel. They run their system hoping execution beats talent, which worked with Caitlin Clark creating 40% of their offense. Without her, this becomes a fatal flaw as they refuse to scout tendencies, identify defensive vulnerabilities, or attack weaknesses relentlessly. UCLA knew Iowa would attempt the high-low game, put Betts under the basket, and dared them to do anything else. Iowa couldn't or wouldn't respond. Roster construction reveals deeper systematic problems beyond losing individual players from last year's squad. Lucy Olson, Heck, and Emily Rodriguez were players who created something from nothing when systems broke down. But the current roster is essentially complementary pieces without a centerpiece. McKenna Warnock showed flashes with actual mid-range shooting ability, revolutionary for Iowa's system. Yet when Stolze gets space at the elbow, she refuses to shoot. Iowa would rather turn the ball over than have post players attempt 15-foot jumpers. That's not player limitation, but systematic philosophy that gets brutally exposed against tournament competition. The casual fan narrative about UCLA being a bad stylistic matchup misses the bigger picture completely. Every competent team becomes Iowa's nightmare when they possess solid interior defense and efficient scoring capability. Iowa's defense has been spectacular, but when your offense can't break 60 points against tournament teams, defensive excellence becomes irrelevant since you cannot win games scoring 48 points without offensive talent or system flexibility to change that reality. The commentary disaster becomes Iowa's saving grace because instead of basketball analysts dissecting this offensive implosion, instead of breaking down UCLA's complete possession-by-possession domination, Instead of questions about coaching decisions and roster construction, everyone discusses Caitlin Smith and Lisa Blunder. The broadcasters called Caitlin Clark a coach, listed her among Iowa's staff, then separately mentioned Caitlin Smith as a player while claiming Lauren Betts dealt with season-long injuries when she missed exactly one game. This wasn't amateur hour but complete abdication of preparation and professionalism. This moment reveals the intersection of inadequate women's basketball coverage and Iowa's trajectory crisis. Commentary failures expose how little preparation broadcast teams invest in women's games when basic roster information gets butchered for legendary figures like Caitlin Clark and Lisa Blunder. But Iowa faces genuine crossroads, having built their identity around generational talent, which was correct. Yet the post-Clark transition exposes systematic issues beyond missing one player. They need offensive philosophy that functions without individual magic on every possession, but their half-court operation gets the ball to the elbow, looks for high-low entry, and resets when unavailable without secondary actions, pick-and-roll stress, or motion principles. When primary actions fail, they don't have counters but turnovers instead. Hannah Stolze and Eva Hayden are skilled players with high basketball IQs being asked to execute systems that play into opponents' strengths, as UCLA demonstrated by playing straight up, letting Betts protect the rim, and waiting for self-destruction. Iowa obliged by throwing passes directly to UCLA players, forcing entry passes into traffic, and refusing open mid-range shots even when defenses provided space. This raises uncomfortable questions about coaching philosophy and player development since Jan Jensen inherited a transitioning program. But her offensive system requires personnel Iowa lacks, either dominant post players scoring through consistent contact or shooters spacing floors and punishing collapsing defenses. Iowa has good role players functioning as primary options like Kenna Warnock, who shows mid-range ability that should open offenses, but the system prioritizes interior passes even when defenses want exactly that. This philosophical rigidity gets teams blown out in March since tournament basketball rewards adaptability, with elite programs having primary actions plus counters to counters, flowing seamlessly between options when defenses adjust. Iowa lacks that systematic flexibility, getting stuck when high-low games fail against virtually every UCLA possession. Roster construction compounds this through needing stretch players in high posts who step out for distance shots, forcing defensive bigs to choose between rim protection and chasing shooters. Without that player type, Iowa's offense becomes predictable and easily defended, with every tournament team using UCLA's blueprint of packing paint, taking away high-low, and daring perimeter shooting or off-dribble creation. The commentary disaster ironically overshadows deep dives into offensive system failures, roster competition questions, and coaching staff versatility concerns, so Iowa should send those commentators thank you cards for accidentally saving them from painful post-game analysis of questionable basketball, coaching decisions, and poor offensive execution. They're a proud program grateful broadcast incompetence overshadows on-court struggles, which isn't where they want to be but exactly where they are until addressing fundamental offensive issues through different recruiting, evolved philosophy incorporating ball screens and motion principles, and developing current players in areas their system doesn't emphasize, like Hannah Stolze taking 15-foot jumpers and Eva Hayden setting screens with hard rolls through multiple flowing actions rather than single primary concepts. Names might get called correctly next time, but results will likely remain identical.